Those new to language learning tend to think of learning a language as just learning one mode of communication. But we all know that in reality, there are lots of different ways to speak the same language depending on where you're from, what your social status is, and what context you're in. In English, we see this diversity in the plethora of regional dialects and sociolects all over the world, and the same goes for other global languages like Spanish, and even a lot of languages with less of a geographic spread. When a certain speech pattern gets tied in with a certain social group, it leads to a phenomenon called prestige, where the speech pattern of a higher ranking social group will start to be referred to as the proper dialect, and other varieties as improper. As this proper speech gains prestige, people of lower status often learn it in order to climb the social ladder, hoping they can convince other people into thinking that they are part of the higher ranking group. In Spanish, many dialects have gained prestige due to historical social hierarchies, and this has led to them being the main dialects taught in classrooms. After all, who'd want to learn a language just for other people to tell them that they're speaking an improper dialect of the lower class? There's a problem here, though. Just like we hear improper speech in English all the time, we should also expect to hear the same amount of variation in Spanish, but this speech is not proportionally represented in the classroom. I'm not advising anyone to intentionally learn a lower prestige dialect of Spanish, but what I am saying is that if you want to understand the majority of the Spanish you're going to hear, you're going to need to learn all of the improper stuff too, even if it's forbidden to use in your Spanish class. Here are some features of colloquial Spanish that you'll definitely want to know if you really want to understand people. Number 1, S-eating. In Spanish, many dialects involve comiéndose la S, which means eating the S's. This means that S's at the end of a syllable will either be replaced with a H or a Ch, or sometimes completely dropped altogether. It baffles me that many upper-level students have never learned this, because it's so common and completely changes the sound of the language to an untrained ear. This process turns los carros to los carros, and las aguas to la agua. The second feature is messing with the syllable final R. In many dialects, the syllable final R, often seen at the end of words, can have many different pronunciations, each with their own social prestige or stigma. So the word comer can have the standard pronunciation that I just said, or it can be pronounced comel, comer, come, and this variation is also seen in the middle of words such as arma, giving arma, what I just said, alma, arma, and amma. The third feature is the dropping of syllable final nasals and the subsequent nasalization of the vowels. This frequently happens before S's, and this process turns ansiedad into ansiedad and antes into antes. Given that many varieties of English have nasalization, it shouldn't be too difficult to pick up on, but it's worth noting. The final feature I'd like to mention has already been discussed in previous videos, but it's important to reference again, and it is the reduction or complete dropping of voice plosive consonants like B, D, and G in between vowels. The best example of this is the word abogado becoming abogado, which is actually a very normal pronunciation with the soft consonants, but this can be further reduced to ahogado. I hope this was all helpful, and now that you know all of this, hopefully you won't be totally surprised when you hear somebody say, "Los niños quieren ser abogados." If you have any questions or concerns, feel free to leave a comment. If you like this video, give it a like, and have a good one.